nothing to prove. You and me shouldn't be allowed to roll. Together we way too powerful. We can't quit now, we're so close. Wherever you go, I'll go. And I can't do this on my own. So brother, are you with me? 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 Oh, let's go. We can't quit now, we're so close. Wherever you go, I'll go. And I can't do this on my own. So brother, are you with me? 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 Oh, let's go.
I am from Liberty Hill, one of the campus pastors there. Get to hang out in Leander, teaching the last few weeks about Own It, and we're wrapping it up today, man.
Man, this has been a great series.
Yeah.
Talking about making the most of every opportunity, not excuses. So,
Yeah, from time, influence. Today we're talking about church. Last week we talked about growth. Today's about taking ownership in your church. Whether you're online or in person.
Yeah, and man, talk about timing of this series. Right here in the middle of the year as we turn the corner on summer, just for us to make the most of what we have left. So, hey, New Year's resolutions, people, there's still time.
Yeah, that's right.
There's still time.
So, hey, John, if they're just joining us, one, let us know where you're joining us from. Anyone out of state, type it in, let us know where you're at. But really, if they're joining us for the very first time, we want to know where you're from. And then text, do us a favor, text 512-710-2323. Text this word.
Yeah, welcome. We got
Word
a keyword
welcome.
for you to text, and that just lets us know that you joined us online, gives us a chance to, like Mario said, send you a free gift to say thanks, but also hear a little bit about you and how you found
us.
Rock Point online.
Well, that's right. Hey, John, I'm going to run. I got to get ready for the message. You guys enjoy today. I hope that you learned something about taking ownership in your church, regardless where you're watching from. John, have a good one, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, we just want to celebrate with our church. This week, over 100 middle schoolers, high schoolers, and elementary kids went out to camps, Camp Tejas, Camp Buckner, in Giddings, and in Burnett. A bunch of leaders, a bunch of volunteers saw kids who made decisions to follow Jesus for the first time in their lives. So as a church, big round of applause, big celebration for all that happened this week. We're so excited. It's been an awesome week. And so, like Mario said, we're wrapping up this series. We've got a really exciting series starting next Sunday, so we hope that you're with us. But also, speaking of being with us, right here, we're joined by Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah. Thanks for. Hey, Adam, what can we expect this morning from the band?
We're going to sing some old Rock Point songs, some songs we used to jam to back in the day. And it's good. It's good to play some old songs that everybody knows. So if you're at home and know those, sing along with us.
That's right. It's going to be a fun set. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to have a whole lot of fun with this one. We're going to do some throwback songs like Adam said. So, hey, stand up, sing along. Your neighbors need to be wondering what is going on over there. What are they doing? Those neighbors this early on a Sunday? Well, hey, we're so glad that you joined us. And, man, we got a lot of fun. Adam, are you guys about ready to do this thing? All right, here we go. Y'all stand up wherever you are, sing along, and have a lot of fun with this set. It's going to be great.
Take me to the shouting grounds. A prodigal lost was found, but I should be dead by now. But I am alive. Oh, I just want to see your face. You're calling me from my grave. Take me to the shouting grounds. It's gonna get loud. Dead man come walking out when you hear the sound of mercy. Dead man come shouting out, get out the ground you're breathing. All who are once asleep are waking up to sing. Take me to the shouting ground. A prodigal lost was found. I should be dead by now, but I am alive. I just want to see your face. You're calling me from my grave. Or take me to the shouting ground. It's gonna get loud. Hey, hey, hey. No grave gonna hold me down. Can you hear the sound of saving? No grave gonna hold me down. Can you feel the ground is shaking? All who are once asleep are waking up to say, take me to the shouting ground. A prodigal lost was found. I could be dead by now, but I am alive. I just want to see your face. You're calling me from my grave. Take me to the shouting ground. It's gonna get loud. Hey, should be dead by now, but I am alive. I just want to see your face. You're calling me from my grave. Take me to the shouting ground. It's gonna get loud. Oh, I just want to see your face. You're calling me from my grave. Take me to the shouting ground. It's gonna get loud. Y'all doing all right this morning? Come on, y'all put y'all's hands together. Come on, if you know it, sing. It don't have a job, won't pay your bills. I know that's right. Won't buy you a home in those Crystal Falls hills. Yeah. Won't fix your life in 5 easy steps. Ain't the law of the land or the government. But it's all you need. I'll say, and love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not. Play them drums now. It's waiting for you. It's knocking at your door. In a moment of truth, when your heart is the floor, and you're on your knees. Everybody sing now. And love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Sing, this is the first. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. Come on, y'all sing. And love will hold us together. Oh man, that sounds good. Keep singing. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone.
Good morning. I'll go ahead and have a seat. Hello. Good morning. My name is John Evans. I'm one of the pastors here on staff. It is so great to be together both in person and online as we wrap up our Own It series, talking all about making the most of every opportunity, not excuses. And so if you're with us this morning for the first time and you're visiting, and thanks so much for being with us. We're glad that you're here. And we've got a way for you to let us know that you've joined us. Super easy. We've got a keyword for you to text to a phone number, 512-710-2323, right up here on the screens. And just text us that keyword. Let us know that you're with us. That gives us a chance just to say hello and hear a little bit about you and how you found Rock Point, and follow up and say thanks for being with us. Next, we're going to bring up a QR code, and this takes you to a bunch of things, but this QR code, we'd like to highlight our connection card, and this gives us an opportunity to serve you. Take a look at that connection card, share with us a little bit with what is on there about yourself. There's a place there for prayer requests. We love the opportunity to get to pray for you on Monday mornings as a staff, so thank you so much for checking that out. And again, today we've got a great Sunday planned for everybody. Music, lesson, it's going to be a really good one. Let me go ahead and pray for us. God, thank you so much for what you're doing in our lives. And as we make this turning point from this year, help us make the most of what you have for us through the rest of it. So today we just open our hearts and our minds to what you have for us, to take a step towards you, towards healing, towards forgiveness, towards growth. And God, we're just so grateful for your love and for your mercy in our life. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Let's stand together and sing some more. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, but you have never failed me yet. Promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you've never failed me yet. Never failed me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. We'll sing the promise. The promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Oh, the promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. Come on, this is my favorite part. Let's do it. Come on, y'all put y'all's hands together. You are life, you are love, you bring light to my darkness. You are hope, you restore every heart that is broken. You are light, you are love, you bring light to the darkness. You are hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. When we sing it out, it's your breath. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. So great are you, Lord. See you light, Lord. You are light, you are love, you bring light to the dark. You are hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Sing it right now. Oh, great are you, Lord. It's your breath, let's sing it now. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you. It's your breath in our lungs. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. Sing it now. We pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Oh, great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Sing it. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will sing. And all the earth. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath we sing. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. In our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you. It's your breath, Lord, in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. Oh, great are you, Lord. Oh, so great are you, Lord. And great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Come on, Cameron, let's sing it for him. and all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Yes, He is. Yeah. Said all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Man, isn't it good to hear people sing? I love that. You guys give yourselves a hand this morning because you sound so good. You didn't believe that. I'm sorry they gave you such a weak hand clap. Come on, give it up for yourselves. That's awesome. All right, you guys can have a seat, whether you're watching here at home, and watch these screens.
Well, good morning. How are you guys doing? Doing okay? Good, good. Hey, my name is Mario. If we haven't met, this is your first time. Again, my name is Mario, and I am the campus pastor out at our Liberty Hill church campus for Rock Point out there. So glad to be here. With that said, let me say hi to everyone out there at Liberty Hill. Thanks for, again, joining us, being there. Everyone that's online, thanks for joining us wherever you're at. I know summer's winding down and lots of people watching from all over, so thanks for being with us this morning. And just so you guys know, you're coming in, if this is your first Sunday, or if you've missed a few weeks, you're coming in at the back end of our last message of the series called Own It. We're saying, how do you make the most of every single opportunity in life? And what we've done, the reason we're going with Own It is, how do we make excuses? Or what are some of the areas of our lives that we make excuses, and we're going after those areas, and we're talking about those areas of our lives? And so that's why we're saying, instead of making excuses, let's own it. So really quick, I won't spend much time on there, but in your notes, on your app, or on the QR code, I'm going to go over each week really quick to recap. Week 1, we talked about time, and this is what we said about ownership of time. Ownership of time produces purpose. I'm telling my time where to go. My time is not telling me where to go. I want to take ownership of my time. Week 2 was ownership of influence, right? So ownership of influence is others focused. It's not about me. Manipulation is me focused. So we talked about every single one of us being someone who influences others, whether it's at work, home, life, wherever. Week 3 last week, one of my favorites was ownership of growth, is understanding my why. Why are you even here? If you can understand why you're here, you're going to understand that you have purpose. And when you have purpose, guess what? You give yourself, you tell your time where to go. All that takes place, and you have ownership in your life. So, and today, same thing we've done all week, last 3 weeks, is that there's one underlining theme, one verse, and this is it. It's in Ephesians 5, verses 15 and 16. And listen to this. It says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." And that's what we're trying to focus in on. The last 3 weeks, today ending with that little spot in there that says, making the most of every opportunity. So today, again, we've talked time, influence, growth. Today we're talking about church. Take ownership, not of, but in your church. Take ownership in your church. And here's what I had to do, is if every week we looked at how we point fingers and push the blame instead of taking ownership, when it comes to church, it's easy. It's easy for me to talk about because I'm on this side of it. And it's easy for you guys to see about it because all you got to do is open Facebook, and everybody goes to Facebook after they leave church and they're upset about something, right? The band played too loud. That song is old. That song is too new. The words were too slow. We start pointing fingers. Hey, why don't we bring back donuts? Hey, why don't we have coffee? And you know what that translates? Is it's all about me. I'm telling you, this ownership series is a punch in the face or in the gut pretty quick, and that's what happens at church. We point fingers going, you should do this. Well, when you say you, that tells me that you're not part of we, which means you're not a part of this church. But in the end, if you're a believer, you're a part of the church. So instead of saying you, why don't you come up with a solution and say, why don't we do this? Because it creates buy-in. And when you have no ownership, you don't want to buy in because you go, what am I about to get myself into? So translation, all this saying, let me push the blame and point my finger at someone else so that I don't have to own it. So, hey, why don't we have coffee? Why don't you guys serve coffee? Well, here's the thing. If you want to take ownership in your church, why don't you become a part of our greeting team and help us with the coffee? I didn't mean that, but here's, again, translation. I just want to tell people what to do, and I don't want to take any ownership of it. Making the most of every opportunity. When Jesus said he's the head of the church, you are part of that if you're a believer. So we got to own that. And so that's where we're headed today. That's where we're headed. And you know, there's this quote I want to share with you. It's in your notes. It's by Theodore Roosevelt. I know you've probably heard it, but listen to this. It says, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again. But there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that in his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew or know victory or defeat. What a quote. Because it's so easy to point the finger sitting in the bleachers, sitting in the stands, sitting in the chairs. So for me, I have to say, if I'm going to point fingers at someone, me personally, Mario, what am I doing to help this person? Because the world's filled with people that are going to be critics. But we never get in the game. Man, and I thought about this, that quote going together this week with these leaders that just went to camp. I don't know if you've ever been to camp when it's 700 degrees in the middle of nowhere and you have these teenagers and you're going, what in the world did I get myself into? You're in it. And then teenagers, that's easy. Think about the camp that just came back with all these kids, and they're from kindergarten to 5th. I'm like, oh, no. I can talk to adults, but that grade, that group of kids, man, imagine spending 3 or 4 days at a camp without their parents. You're like, am I going to bring them back the way that they gave them to me? And they were in it. They were in it. They're in it. And sometimes we're so quick to say, hey, what were y'all talking about? You weren't there. Of course, my son or daughter is going to come in and say, hey, you know what? This is what I saw. Of all the things that went great, my son or daughter focused on the one bad thing that happened. And we're quick to point the finger. We're not even in it. And this is why I have this bench here. You know, let me tell you a little bit of a story about this. Is in high school, I played at almost every sport that I could. And this bench right here, in football, our coaches purposely never put a bench on the sidelines. That's where I grew up. They were like, if you kneel down, then you're too tired to play. You're going to play both sides of the ball, cool, but you're not going to play if you're going to be kneeling down. You know, that's not what we're about. You stay standing up. You make sure your eye and your minds are your eyes on the field and your head's in the game. But in baseball, that's a different thing. Baseball was my sport, loved it. And I remember, you know, being a freshman in high school, and I got called to be on the varsity team. So I was pretty good. And so here's the thing. There was this, I was in awe of the people that I was around, right? I had an amazing first baseman, a catcher, third baseman, all these guys that could go play college. And I'm a freshman who doesn't know much, and they called me to be on the team. Well, lo and behold, I'm like, I'm not going to play. I'm just going to be the warm-up dude. I was amazed by these people that I was around because they were in the game. So one day, one of the biggest tournaments that we ever we're a part of. I'm sitting on the bench with my buddy Joey. If Joey ever is watching this, awesome. Joey Davis. We're sitting on the bench and we're making fun of the outfield signs. You know, we're high school freshmen being stupid. And here's the thing, the game's going on. Biggest tournament, we own this tournament, and we're sitting there and we're making fun of these signs in the outfield, and all of a sudden I hear my coach say, Morales, warm up. And I'm sitting there doing this, and Joey goes, hey, bro, he called your name. I was like, no, he didn't. He said, Morales, what are you waiting for? Go warm up. And then Joey goes, hey, I'll warm you up, dude. You're a freshman. You're going to get to go play. I was like, he told me to warm up? He's like, yeah. I go, I didn't wear my contacts. He's like, what? I go, yeah, I can't see. I'm a pitcher. I can't see the catcher's fingers because he's calling the signs. He was like, you didn't wear your contacts? He's like, don't tell coach. So we went and warmed up. And we went and warmed up. And then so he goes, hey, timeout. And I was like, oh, crud. And I'm shaking. Forgot my belt. Forgot my contacts. I go out there, and we're in this huddle, and I see my third baseman, my catcher, the first baseman. These guys are college players, and I'm going, what's up, guys? They're like, hey, man, we got your back. I felt a part of the team. It was different sitting on the bench. But when I came in, these guys were going, we got this. None of them knew that I didn't have my contacts in. They had to go paint the fingernails of the catcher so I could see, and even at that, I could not see the catcher's fingernails. And so I'm warming up. I start to pitch, and it all went well. But here's what I learned quickly, is it's a different view from right here. It's a whole different view from right here because I'm not in the game. And it's a whole different view when I'm right here, and I'm telling him, oh, man, that guy, did you see him mess up? That must have sucked because he couldn't catch the ball. But when they call me and say, hey, get in, it quickly changed. One, on the positive, that I'm a part of a team. I quickly realized that I do carry a role and that I do have purpose on this team. And then there's those timid souls that are in the bleachers going, what's the coach doing? Why does he do this? They're not in it, but I am. I quickly learned that I'm a part of a team, that I have purpose, that again, my role has some purpose to this. So if you're taking notes, and we're gonna go back to this bench here in a second, but here's the thing, is would you write this down? Taking ownership in my church is what? Is doing my part. That day, I played a role in that game as a pitcher. Even if it was for 3 innings, I still played a role. But I did my part. Just like you this morning, everyone online as well, we have an online campus, and we have Liberty Hill. Every one of us has a part. And when you take ownership, it's doing my part. And what does our verse say? It says, making the most of every opportunity. Man, if I would have sat there and told coach, oh, no, man, you choose someone else. Yeah, right. I was a freshman getting to play with some amazing men. And they showed me, you're a part of this. We're together in this. So you have a role here. This is more than a field, more than just wearing a jersey. This is a church that changes people's lives. And you have a role here. And that's our next fill in the blank. It said, I want you to write this down, and I will say this together in a second. But here's the fill in the blank. I have a role in my church. If you're in Liberty Hill, if you're at home, and you're in this room, let's say this together. You ready? I have a role in my church. Let's try it again. I have a role in my church. And you do. Now, whether or not you're on the bench or you're in the game, that's up to you. I can tell you where you could be. But ownership says, I'm done talking, I'm going to go be a part of my church. I'm going to take ownership in my church. I'm going to play my role. And here's the thing, is it's, again, much more than a uniform. Much more than saying, I was on the pitcher's mound. Way more than saying you're the quarterback. It's going, I'm a part of something greater. And what does this greater mean and why? And it's this. I want to share this verse with you. Ephesians 5:23, Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. He's the head of it all. It's not about you. So when we talk about the donuts missing, we talk about the music too loud, we talk that the pastor talked too long for the last 3 weeks, and you keep talking about these things, you're looking at, what can I get out of this? It's not about you. It's never has been. So if you walk into an organization or a church and you think you're the head of it, you're going to have blaming issues because you're going to go and I'm going to go, hey, why can't I get this? Why can't I get that? It's not about you. We're going to see a little bit more. What is it about then? And he says, I'm the head of the church, Jesus. And it's to go into this. He says this in Romans 12, starting in verse 4. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ, you and I, we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. Every single one of us has the opportunity to play a role in the church. I use the word opportunity. Remember last week, the entire quote was, no, a majority of people avoid opportunity because it looks like hard work dressed in overalls. It takes work to build the church, and it's not about you. So what's it about? It's about other people so that they can see Jesus, not the fact that we're missing donuts. And here's the thing, I keep going back to that because here's what I'm saying is when we walk in the doors, it's not about us. It's about you being a part of this church so that other people can see what? See who Jesus is. And how do you do that? Because you play a part of the body. And it's about him. Every single one of us plays a role. Every single one of us, again, has an ability, the opportunity to do our own part, which is what's our part about? It's about ownership. And what is ownership? It's about going, what can I do to be a part of this church? And you know, just like my story of the bench, Pastor Shane he's here in town, and I want to ask him to come out because I want him to share a different version of what happens when you're on the bench, and maybe something different happens when you don't pursue or you miss out on the opportunity to get in the game. Shane, you want to take over?
Yeah, thanks, Mario. So just like Mario, I had my time on the bench too. Unfortunately, my time on the bench was not a time for me to be called up to play. It was very different from that. I actually put myself on the bench. I actually was sat down on the bench, and I did it to myself. And now, look, I don't want to break anybody's idea of me. I know you think I'm brilliant, and I just don't want to ruin that for you. But let me just tell you, here's why I was on the bench that night. I was on the bench because I didn't make eligibility because I didn't pass. And I asked for extra work. Could I just do something extra to make sure that I could get in the game? Could I run some extra laps? Could I clean the bathrooms? Can I do anything in order to be able to get in this game? But I had failed. I didn't pass. I didn't have eligibility to play in the game. And so I ended up here on the bench. And let me just tell you, it was miserable on the bench. It was miserable because there was the action. There was what was going on. And let me just tell you, it cost us. It cost us because that night I lost. Our team lost. Our school lost. My friends lost. We all lost because we didn't have the people in the game to make the game go the way we needed it to go. It didn't work. And you know, I kind of came to a discovery that night, and it's this: you can't make a difference if you're not in the game. You can't make a difference if you're not in the game. If I could go back and start Rock Point Church all over again, and I can't. In fact, I love this statement. It helps me all the time to just say that I can't go back and get a new beginning, but I can always start over and get a new end. See, don't forget that. No matter where you're at in your life, you can't go back and change what happened. You can't go back and get a new of how it began. But you can always start over from this point today and get a new end to how it began. And if I could go back and I could start Rock Point, if I could go back 20 years ago and do this all over again, let me tell you, there's something very specific here that I would do different. In fact, what I would do, I would make sure that everyone constantly knew, that each of you consistently and constantly knew that you had to be in the game or you will not make a difference. If I could scream that over and over for the past 20 years, and so I'm kind of giving you a warning, I may scream it for the next 20. Because we can't go back and change what happened, but what we can do is start today and get a new end. I would let you know that you to make a difference, you got to be in the game. But I'd also let you know that we need you in the game. I'd also let you know you're wanted in the game.
You know, well, I hear people say, I just assumed you guys had it all filled. I just assumed maybe I couldn't do that. Or maybe I just hadn't decided what's right for me. Can I just tell you that indecision is the enemy of purpose and progress. I'm telling you, if I could go back, I would jump up and down week after week after week telling you you're wanted, you're needed. Don't assume everything's taken care of. It's not. Don't assume you can't do it. You can. I mean, you look at people who do things every single week, and it's amazing. What they're doing. I mean, right now, there are young people. There's a 13-year-old kid, a cool kid, but a 13-year-old kid who's been running things that you've been seeing in this very room right now. There are people who are watching online right now, and there's a young teenage girl in a production booth making that happen for you. How about if we don't assume we can't? Let's not just say, well, I don't know what to do. What if we just said, I got to get in the game? You can't make a difference if you're not in the game. You know, in a few weeks, we're gonna start a brand new series called the 21st Century Church. And in the 21st Century Church, we're gonna ask the question, what if the church today is not anything like what Jesus intended the church to be? I mean, I'm asking the question, would Jesus even recognize his church if he walked into one today? Would Jesus recognize you as one of his followers, as a part of the church that he started, if he was to show up today? I'm asking that of myself. I'm asking that of you. I'm asking that of us. What should this 21st century church really look like? Would Jesus find us in the game that he started when he said, go into all the world and make disciples and teach them and baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Would he find his church on mission, on purpose, doing that? Is our 21st century church doing that? Are you owning this church as your own? You can't make a difference if you're not in the game. Every single one of us has a position to play, and you can't play it from the bench. You have to own this church as yours. My question is simply this, is that seat you find each week, whether it's on your couch, whether it's in your living room somewhere, your bedroom, whether you're at one of our campuses, is that seat you find every Sunday, has it become your bench? And have you put yourself on that bench? Mario's going to come, and Mario's going to give us some steps. In fact, he's going to give us some action steps to help us do the work. Because let me tell you this, as pastors, Mario, you and I know this, right? Yeah. As pastors, we also have to own it. We're also Jesus followers. So how do we own it as pastors? We own this church as pastors by making sure you know how to move forward, that you know how to have a place, and that we challenge you out of indecision, and that we call you up off the bench, and we don't care if you have your contacts or not. We want you in the game. Yeah. If you can't see everything, it's okay. You have a place, and you're needed, and you're wanted. Don't assume anything different. Not all the spaces are filled. And as pastors, here's our job. Our job is to make sure you know how to do the work of ministry, so that when one day Jesus does show up and he sees his church, it'll look exactly like what he wanted it to look like all these years later. Mario's got some great steps here and to show you how to take ownership of your church.
Yeah, and that's right. Just like Shane's saying, would Jesus show up? And when he shows up, is he going to see that I'm more concerned about the excuses that I'm making, or I'm pushing the blame? And I don't want it to be that. And the reason is because I know that I want to play a bigger role, not for me, but for his church, because that's where you see lives change. So how do we do this? And here's the thing, as a pastor, as one of the pastors, I have to take ownership of my part to go, hey, just like Shane said, I got to provide the opportunities. I got to teach and I got to share the vision of where we're going, and I got to do the work as well. So how do I share these moments of ownership with you? How do I make this happen? How do I help you see the solutions? And here it is. I want you to know that at any point today, you can go to this QR code, you can go to the connection card, and you can tell us, hey, I want to get involved. Hey, I want to take partnership. Because I'm about to tell you some of these things. It's up to you, because I can't pull you over the line. I can't drag you off the bench. It's up to you. Whether or not you want to make an impact or not, it's up to you. You can. We can find the place, but do you want to make an impact where you're at? And so how do we do that? Number one is know your church and why it exists. So know your church and why it exists. And some people say start with why. Why do you start with why? Because everything I do is going to point to that. So do you know where you're sitting why Rock Point Church exists? It's completely different from stepping into other churches. So do you know why Rock Point Church exists? If you don't, it's okay. I'm just saying, as a volunteer, as a leader, I want to know why this church exists, because when I have questions, and instead of pushing the blame, I can look at the why, and I can get behind that, because that's where we're going. That's where we're going, and I want to help them get there. I want to help this church get there. So do you know why Rock Point Church exists? We don't exist for like every other church. We've said often, we want to do what no other church is doing to reach who no one else is reaching. So we're not going to look perfect. We're not going to look dressed up. We're not going to have the best vision, right? Vision this, not vision as in the target. But you're going to see people who have healed from addiction and loss in their lives, and they're serving in the booth, they're serving behind the camera, they're serving in the kids' areas, and they're making a difference, because just like Shane said, I can change something today to change my future. That's the kind of church we are. And here's what I'm telling you. Today, you can go on our website, and here's a small plug for you, okay? Go on there and look at partnership. Or just pull up the connection card and say, hey, I want to do partnership. All it does is tell you about Rock Point, how we exist, and how you can get involved. Partnership. It's on the connection card. Easy as that. So, if I know why Rock Point exists, now what? Here's the second one. Shane touched on this. Assume the role is not filled. People tell you not to assume, right? But this is the good one. Just assume it's not filled. We want you to see that we need you on the team, but we can't pull you off the bench. It's up to you to go, hey, you know what? I see someone, I pass by that room, and someone's always teaching, someone's always with the kids, or someone's always in the booth. That doesn't mean that we don't have a lineup. We need people to be in that place to go, hey, I want to make a difference even if it's once a month. You guys, here's the thought process behind this. If we have two services here, man, you can serve at one and come to one. In Liberty Hill, it's different, because here's the thing, is we have one service. So if you think about it, coming off the bench helps someone get to church, because if they're serving every week, they've taken ownership in their growth, which we talked about last week, and they go, you know what? I got to grow on my own, because I can't go to church, because I'm actually taking ownership in my church, helping the students and kids in the classrooms. So if we get off the bench and help them, they can accomplish some of their growth by being in the service. Even online. We need online moderators. You're a part of our online campus. There's the same thing. Assume the role is not filled. Please don't assume that it's filled. The third thing is this. Offer to do your part. Offer to do your part. This is what it is. Don't wait. And here's the thing is, I know that when we talk about this, it's not me doing this, but I know that God sometimes comes into your heart and says, hey, remember, I've told you it's time to get involved. And you go, no, it's okay. That's the enemy. And then you go, Mario's talking about this, Shane's talking about this. I know that he's wanting me to get off the bench, and I know he's talking to me. What do? Just go on the connection card and say, hey, I want to serve. You guys tell me what's needed, or we'll start the conversation of what do you love? What are you gifted at? And I'm not gifted at anything. We'll find you a place to go, hey, you're gonna be a part of the team, which gives you purpose, which goes, hey, it's not about me, it's about other people. Well, when is it about other people, and what does that mean? It means it's about Jesus, who's the head of the church and the body, and you're starting to show other people who he is, because it's not about you. And when it's not about you, you worry less about the donuts, less about the coffee, less about the music, less about the message, and you go, it's about him. So it's taking ownership, going, you know what? I got to offer to do my part. I have to step out and say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just telling you, if it wasn't for someone doing their part, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for those volunteers that were at the camp I was at when I was a senior, I wouldn't be here. Think about that. And I'm pushing this pretty hard because I want you to see that God speaks directly where you're at, but before you get up, the enemy is going to go, hey, you're too old, you're too young, you can't do this. Man, tell him to shut up and say, hey, get behind me. I can do this. So the last one is this. Stop saying I go to Rock Point. Please stop saying that. And begin saying, I serve at Rock Point. Well, what does that do? When you begin to stop saying I go to Rock Point, you say I serve at Rock Point, it changes the mentality of what you just told me. Oh, you serve? What do you mean? Well, I have a role at that church. I have ownership in this church. I do my part. Well, what do you do? Oh, I'm a door holder. I hold the door open for people. That's all you do? Yeah, but guess what? They get to see me every time they come in, and no one's maybe talked to them. Maybe they're having a bad day, and I get to say, hey, good morning. Welcome to Rock Point. I get to serve the coffee. I'm the guy that brought the coffee back. I'm the guy that brought the donuts back. Whatever it is, here's the thing. Is stop saying I go somewhere and say I serve. I'm a part of it. Because what it does is it changes the way you think. And when you start changing the way you think, that goes into actions. And when you go into actions, you start to begin habits. And when you begin habits, the habit is created in you. And you start to go, I'm a part of this. It's a part of me. It's not something I just go to. There's a complete difference of being on the bench and being in the game. And you got to say, I didn't say, hey, I went to Greenwood. I heard about their baseball team. No, I was on that team that year. I played in that game. I was a part of those guys that played in the professional league, and I didn't make it, but man, it was so good to be a part of that team. I was on that team. I saw lives change when we start talking about the church. My daughters go here. Man, I want someone to step into that role in the garage or in our preschool and go, because of her or because of him, my daughter's life has changed. And you can't do that on the bench. Be very careful how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. So let me ask you, do you know why you exist? Do you know why you exist? No other place is going to help you find that purpose and ownership than a place like this, because it's about someone greater than me and you. And when you get behind that, you start to see the bigger picture. So when it comes to ownership, I got to wrap up this entire series with this. Is when it comes to ownership, I want you to remember the verse. Again, be very careful then how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. And I want you to see that God's provided you enough time to do something here on earth, whether you're young or old. He's provided you with that. But I can't do it for you. You have to take ownership of that. You have to say, I'm here for a reason, and here's what I'm going to do. Time. Second week was influence. And when I do what I'm supposed to do and take ownership, I'm going to affect people. Whether for good or bad, you get to own that. And at the end of life, we have to own that. And the third one was growth. How I'm going to get there and who I'm going to influence is based on how I grow. And how I grow is up to me. Not up to Mario, not up to Pastor Shane, not up to the church. It's up to me to get in the Bible, go get a podcast, stop making excuses and just grow. And the fourth one is this. Am I a part of the church that's doing great things, and it's not about one person or a team. It's about the head of the church, which is Jesus. And what does Jesus do? He changes lives so that other people are invited in, and we could go change a community. Communities. That's what I'm asking. Are you a part of the team? Are you a part of the church? Are you taking ownership in your church? Because if you're not, I'm just going to ask you, what is it going to take for you to take ownership? Because every single one of us has a role. That's how we're here in this building today. That's how people are watching in Liberty Hill. That's how we are online, because people took ownership. But don't assume the role's filled, because there's a spot for you. Let me pray. God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for just the stories that we share across, different age groups, God, about being in the game, coming off the bench, learning things in life where we say, you know what? I have to own this opportunity and be a part of something greater. And God, this is it. This is the opportunity. God, I know there's actual steps where somebody can take out their phone and let us know they're interested. But before any of that happens, I want to go to the heart of it, God. I want to go to the identity that someone feels that they can't play a role. And that's such a lie. That is such a lie from the deceiver. God, I'm asking that you would give them the excitement, the enthusiasm to be a part of something that is greater than ourselves. That's going to change not just them, not just the people in this room or in this building, in the community, and then in our it could be our state, in our country, in our world. We never know who we're influencing that could produce the change, God, that could go change the world. And that starts with us owning our part in your church. So God, thank you for loving us. Thank you for Jesus and what he means to each one of us as the head of our church. We love you, and it's in your name I pray. Amen.
We were born to embrace, not accepting. We were given nothing more, so we kept it. As the colors of our boots keep fading, live a life that we hate without saying. Who will listen to the cry of a poor man? Never done nothing. How can we be something? Every heart has an hour of existence. Every breath brings a chance for redemption. Somehow we could wake up. Let us love like we were children. Make us feel like we're still living in a world I know is burning to the ground. Give us time to beat the system. Let us find what we've been missing in a world I know is burning to the ground. In the crowd of the dead and disappointed, I'm ashamed giving up on what we wanted. Take a chance on a long shot this time. Are we all just at least worth another try? I'm a king in a land of abuse, undermined by the promise of excuses. Who's the win if we know that it's not fair? Who would fight when we learn that no one can live? Somehow we could wake up. Let us love like we were children. Make us feel like we're still living in a world I know is burning to the ground. Give us time to beat the system. Let us find what we've been missing in a world I know is burning to the ground. It's hard to stay here, but where do we go? I know you can't feel it anymore. It's true, time is wearing us down. We fall further and further away. Oh, we fall further away. I said if somehow we could wake up, yeah, if somehow we could wake up. I said if somehow we could wake up, yeah, if somehow we could wake up. Let us love like we were children. Let us feel like we're still living in a world I know is burning to the ground. Give us time to beat the system. Let us find what we've been missing in a world I know is burning to. I'll play that guitar now. Give your
Man, what a great way to close out this Own It series. We hope that it inspires you, encourages you to take ownership, to get off the bench and get in the game. It's been a great series. We have a couple of next steps for you on the way out. We've got a QR code for you. When you scan that QR code, it takes you to a bunch of things. Just click on Next Steps. And there, whether you're online or you're in person, there's opportunities for you to serve, for you to volunteer. So take a look at that and just let us know, and we'll take it from there, and we'll get you connected. Also, we want to make time and space during service for you to give. And in those next steps, there's a place for you to give there. And when you give, things happen. Man, God does a work through your generosity, through your influence, and it's amazing to see what he does through that. Also, coming up is the 10th annual Richard Myers Blood Drive. And spots are limited, but go ahead and sign up and be a part of saving a life. And at the end of this month, the 29th through the 31st, we have a disaster relief trip. This is a great next step to get out there, to serve, to help people heal who've been through the Hurricane Laura and through flooding right there in Louisiana. So take a look at that on the way out. And finally, be back next Sunday as we kick off our new exciting series called Dumpster Fire. You're not going to want to miss it. We hope you have a great Sunday. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.